Good evening, everyone. Hold on, I'm getting mad feedback here. Welcome to the Best Overall Show. Uh-oh, I can hear myself for some reason. That's not good.
I'm not hearing reverb on your end.
Oh, Sam, are you? Sam, I think I can hear myself through your
Sure.
phone. Yep.
And it only started when we went live.
Do you just want to mute yourself and then?
Is that better?
Say something, Joe.
Unknown. I think so. Nope, I can still hear it. There we go. All right. Welcome to the Best Overall Show, everyone. No Kazra and Noah this weekend. They are recovering from World Games and wanted to take the week off. So we'll next show we will go over their run through that massive tournament and what their experiences were. I have two guests with me tonight. Ryan, Mr.
Thanks for having me.
He will be kind of helping me host, and we're going to be going through our run of the Renegade Open. And I also have Samwise Gamgee with me.
Hello.
I'm still having some feedback issues, but Sam and I were both fortunate enough to go to the Renegade Open last weekend, and we're going to be talking about our run through that. So let me mute myself and kick it over to Sam real quick. Talk about your list. We're going to skip Happy Progress this week because we got a lot to talk about. Renegade Open was in Minneapolis, specifically Plymouth. It's a really cool venue. It's kind of a big old hotel. Bring my family, and my wife's from Minnesota, so she kind of just tooled up sitting with her relatives. I stayed stranded at the hotel the whole weekend, fending for lunch and dinner on my own. So, Sam, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your 40K background, what you do, where you're from, and then talk about your.
Sure. So, like we were just talking about before we started, I've been grinding Votan all season long for the last year. I usually tend to go a little more close combat heavy, but I guess a little bit about myself. I'm from Wausau, Wisconsin. We're 2 hours north of Madison, part of the team Country Chaos. So there's 8 of us who play in this, central Wisconsin area. I'm a TO for ISO Games and Hobby. We alternate hosting RTTs every other month with the Madison store. So the Tundra Tactics, their home store and our store, we alternate. So they host an RTT, we host one. And then once a year, I host a GT. We've been at 40 people 2 years in a row. We're going to try to get a little bit higher. 50, 60 is the goal. So that's in June. So my list for the Renegade Open, I was going to hot swap to guard, but I couldn't get enough models painted in time. So then it was just back to tried and true, the thing that I had been playing all year.
I gotta ask though, Sam, how does it feel to have, like, everyone always tells me, if you want to play a fair game, play Votan, right? But how does it feel to? It seems every single person I play has an AP2 or an AP3 to throw out at any point in time, and you guys really don't have invulns, right?
No, besides the call and the 5-up invul that you can put on the 10-man Hearthguard. Oh, so that I did have in my list. I did have 10 Hearthguard, not 5. On the list there, it says 5. But no, other than that, the 2-up save on the Hearthguard, we have Void Armor, which is our version of Armor of Contempt. I'm not that worried about AP.
Really?
No. So having 6 Sagittars, I've played around with forts. So actually, the day before Renegade, I had the opportunity to do the 2v2 on Friday with Joe from War Games Live, and we took a 3 fort list. Um, but those are just, I think, liabilities. If you just go against the wrong matchup, that can pop a fort in 1 turn easy. That's why I like having the 6 Sagittars instead. And if they die, they die.
Now, obviously, with 6 Sagittars and you've got 6 infantry blocks, they're all sitting in there. Outside of your Pioneers, because they still uppy downy, right?
Yep, they uppy downy. 6
So
inches from a board edge.
outside of that, I mean, you don't really have deep strike. So if someone, screens out your big boys, then they're not coming back in. How do you deal with behind enemy lines going into this?
So what I found is the key is your pioneers. So I've tried the 18 pioneer list. Every time I'm like, I go less and less. I do think the minimum for pioneers is 2 3s. But what they do is they just screen out your back half of the board, back quarter, depending on deployment. They just screen out the back of the board at the end of your opponent's turn. You take them off, and then you bring the back in the same spot until all of their reserves are done. And then on turn 3, 4, and 5 is when they actually start doing objectives.
Oh, so effectively, they're only action monkeys for you in this list.
Correct. It's just late game. Late game, uppy downy, and then they do have enough guns to start finishing stuff off that's left over on the
I was
board.
gonna say, every time I've fought Votan, I am utterly impressed by how much shooting they do specifically at me. And normally I am fighting, a 6-man, I feel. But still, I mean, they always have ignore cover, right? And then I feel like they have 3 different guns.
They technically have 4, but really you're only shooting them with the 3. They have the pistols, the shotguns, the gun on the bike, and then the second gun up top. 1 out of every 3. Joe, are you still getting reverb from me?
I think it's me. I'm getting it from everybody, so I think it's something.
You were cutting in and out at the very beginning as well.
So this version of my list is the most scoring heavy I've ever taken for Votan. And the 20 warriors, this is the most warriors I've ever played out of GT. This is the most Jaegers I've played at a GT, because the 2 10-mans split down into 4 5-mans. So 1 5-man is on your backfield. They usually can screen out your DZ, or at least your home objective. Then the other 3 5-mans, I have 1 throwaway to start that like trading game in the middle, and then I have 2 going to each side.
Interesting. Going into this, before we even talk about the results or anything like that, what did you feel your prime matchups were and the ones that you were running away from?
So I at Adepticon I was on War Games live stream round 4 versus, I think he's the top World Eaters player in the world.
Is it Brian?
It is Brian. Do you know Brian?
He is a Flint area resident that I play with regularly. Awesome guy.
So he just completely ran me over. If someone's taking an aggressive army and they're scared of me and they're passive, that is my game. Like, I'm going to win that game. I played against Death Guard and he was too passive. I rolled him over. The thing that Votan don't like is pressure armies. If they have a pressure army and they're afraid of you, that's good for me. But if they start running at me, that's when, if they start taking the board and I can't be going in and out with my bikes, then that's usually a hard game for me. So any pressure army.
It's mainly for the bikes access. I mean, normally you want the berserkers going just ham into them, right? Or
so I would say like Votan really is, it's a shooting army that can also hit a little bit. It's a shooting army. It's a play the objective army, especially this list. But if people start running at you, If you can't shoot them for a couple turns first, usually that close combat that we do have isn't enough to push through.
So anything pushy you were looking to step away from. Joe, are you
I'm
back
good.
to
I figured
functioning?
out what the problem was. It was a boomer moment. I had YouTube open in the background.
Oh,
So we're good. Yeah. So I missed most of that, but
So knowing what my bad matchups have always been, my losses are almost always to pressure armies, to world eaters, to orcs, to that kind of thing. That's why I have the triple berserks with the mole launcher. If I hit them on a 4-up, it's -2 to move, advance, and charge. I have 2 units of Jaegers, so those are infiltrators. If I can try to pin people in, they have a reactive move. And that actually came up quite a bit in my 2 orc matchups, was the Jaegers.
now yours goes off on a 4-up, as does the Rocket Truck Squig Buggy. How come Basilisks and Night Spinners just happen automatically? So lame.
And that's why you need 3.
Yeah.
Because you'll probably get it off once.
Also, I have a bit of a bone to pick with you, Samwise Gamgee. You are obviously impersonating a hobbit, yet following around a bunch of dwarfs. Why aren't you Bilbo Baggins?
Fair. It was back, I don't know, what was that guy from Frontline Gaming who had the fake name? Like, I feel like when I started listening to podcasts and doing competitive 40K, everyone had a fake name. So I'm like, oh, I'm
Guy
going to
had
pick
a
one
fake.
too.
Oh, Val.
Yes.
Okay.
Heffelfinger or something?
Yes. Noah demands answers. He is being answered right now. All right. So, that was your list. Did you talk about the doubles tournament at all?
briefly.
No, so that's actually a pretty funny story. So, back at Adepticon, I played at War Games Live. I got to meet Joe. And I joined the Patreon, and I was just sitting at work scrolling on my phone when he posted on his Patreon on Wednesday before the doubles tournament, hey, I need a partner. So I said, I'll do it. Had no idea what time it was, anything like that. I just said, hey, I can be in the area. So I had to switch around a bunch of vacation to get there early enough on Friday. And he messaged me. He's like, hey, I'm going to play Space Wolves all Dreadnoughts. And I didn't know his list. So I'm like brewing up all these different lists to try to be like, okay, if he's taking Dreadnoughts, like what should I take? And I pretty much brought all of my Votan. So I'm like ready to go. And
how many points do you have?
I have pretty much max everything.
Wow.
I had to run 6 Sagittars. I have to borrow 2, but I have the Sagittars just unbuilt and unpainted. But I have the 18 bikes. I have 30 Hearthguard. I have way too much Votan.
Okay. Here's your army. It looks very nice. It was sitting at the table next to me at round 5, and I was admiring it. And then you came over and moved it. I was like, oh, that's Sam's army. Looks great.
So the morning of the double, thank you. The morning of the doubles tournament, Joe walks in with a box of his Votan. I knew he had Votan, but at the last moment that morning, he decided he was going to hot swap from Space Wolves to Votan. He's like, hey, you know this army better than I do. Can you build me a list? But you have to use my models and models that are painted. And so we ended up with taking the triple fort. And we went 0-3. Or I mean 3-0. We won all of our games.
Far better.
Yeah.
What did you guys play into?
First round was Custodes and Gene Stealer Cult. They had 3 Caladius tanks, so I knew that matchup was going to be cat and mouse of whose tanks died first. So we were passive with our 3 forts, but we were aggressive with everything else. And their tanks didn't do a whole lot all game, bounced off of a couple of our units, and we won that game pretty handily. The next matchup was Space Marines and Tyranids. We won the infiltrate war. We got to infiltrate our units first. We took board. We just took the board. We had presence all game, and then the final one was Drukari and Orcs. It was a speedwog list. We killed all of the Dark Eldar, and the speedwog trucks just couldn't do anything to us. So
they are probably some of the worst data sheets in the entire game.
But some of the coolest models.
That is true. Yes.
So we did get second in the 2v2 undefeated.
That's awesome. Okay.
Oh, okay. Mr. Orc, tell me about your list.
First of all, this list starts off with the Grand Prophet of the Great Wog, Gazgul Magur Thraka. And Gaz is just such a force multiplier, having AP 3 and then flat damage 4. Oh, that is just a number that most people can't get to in melee, so it's not like a knight. This dude, I mean, he literally just destroys anything he touches, and then he gets a lethal hits aura in the Wog turn, and he crits on 5s, and with Warhorde, that just, I mean, I'll talk about my second Tyranids game. He was such a baller, but I did end up losing that game. I have 3 beast bosses, with 2 upgrades, 1 for extra movement, 1 for fallback and charge. I have the Big Mech with shock attack gun, who probably made the coolest play out of the whole event for me. He is unfortunately getting cut. 10 beast Snagaboys in 3 kill rigs, which are kind of like the meat and potatoes of the list. 10 boys for sticky objectives, 30 Gretchen, 3 Mega Knobs to follow Gaz around and tank some damage for him. 10 Flash Gits, who were also standouts in every game, despite no longer having access to rerolls to hit, which is stupid. Give me my character back. And 2 units of 5 Storm Boys for objectives and move blocking, and a single truck. Usually for the Flash Gits.
You didn't even talk about the best part, the 3 kill rigs.
Well, yeah, the kill rigs. Actually, almost everybody I played against, they're like, "What does that thing do?" I'm like, "Brother, let me talk to you about these kill rigs."
It hooks you.
Yeah. Oh, it does. It did get a couple hook charges in, which is amazing. The most important thing about it is it has a last cannon, a D3 shot last cannon flamer, which is awesome for orcs because they have absolutely no shooting other than the Flash Gits.
Oh, I'm sorry, 16 shots from Gaz?
Yeah, that's not even a thing with his AP 0 damage 1 shooter. It's just the most underwhelming gun on like a Primarch equivalent model there is. The kill rigs have the harpoon, which if they hit something with it, they get +2 to charge, and you can't overwatch them. And it's also anti-monster and vehicle 2+, which is amazing. And then it has a stupid indirect gun, which literally can never hit anything. Although also in a Tyranid game, it was extremely adept at killing spore mines. Which spore mines have the stupidest rule.
Can't advance.
Yeah, it's just. I would just rather have it explode. Like I don't
Well,
like. I'll
explode.
take the damage. I know. I'd rather just take the damage. You can't advance within 6 inches of it.
I think it's 6.
That's just insane. That's just an insane rule. I don't like it. Kill rigs also have like 15 attacks in melee at several different profiles.
So I'll ask the same big question, which is, what lists are you fearing going into this, and what are you hoping to go against?
Anything with armor 2. And access to Armor of Contempt, and anything that is faster than me. Yeah, not a fan.
Despite the fact that Sam said he does not want to go against orcs.
This isn't a pressure list. This is a good orc list.
Wow. And I definitely don't like things that can run away from me. So Grey Knights or anything within a reactive move, that's because then I usually just have to throw something out there and then they run away, and then that thing usually just dies because it's standing out in the open and can't make its charges. So
I've played enough against you. The one pack of grots are obviously in the back. The other 2 are always reserves.
I usually just reserve 1 for objectives, and then the other one I want to run out onto another, like the expansion objective, to give me more command points.
Well, why don't you have any commandos? That's my question. Where
I mean,
are the
like
commandos?
125 points.
Yeah, but they're so much fun and terrible to play
I
against.
mean, what I want
on your
is
list.
more pigs in the list, but pigs are just at a completely unusable point value right now. So
Right.
So yeah, that's what I got going on. There's my army on my beat up display board. Because I had children literally jumping on it prior to the tournament. So
Which one was the one you were rushing to finish for the kill rigs?
that would be the one in the middle with the giant squiglaba spitting out squigs, which I will have better pictures of next week.
Good.
So yeah.
So when I met Joe for the first time, he was at an RTT in Wausau. He had, was it your purple Sisters of Battle?
Yes.
The blends, like the blends from like a dark to a light purple, and it was just the best painted army. And I had never seen his orcs before, and it was the same thing. It was one of the prettiest armies there. I knew you were in contention at Renegade for the best overall. It was that darn Tyranid playboard.
Who I did lose to.
Yes.
So he did beat me fair and square. So
Yes. But it was close.
Yeah. All right. Oh, Friday Night Doubles. I'm assuming these are your doubles pictures. Here's you and Joe. Is this after your victory or before?
That was after. That was at the end of the night. That was it was a super fun spending the day with him.
And both of you are very tall.
I was about to ask that. Are you on your tippy toes? Because I know Joe is very big.
No, I'm 6'3". He had me by a couple inches. I think he's like 6'4", 6'5".
Wow.
I don't think Sam Wise was very tall.
True story. But stout of heart. These are your two hecatons, yes?
Yep, that was actually mid-game on stream when I took that picture. We had the center objective. It was not being lost to us.
Wow. What gun is on this? Is this the beam gun?
Yep, that's a conversion beamer. So after 12 inches, it converts on a 4-up.
Here's a bit of a contentious question. Who are the better miners, the Votan or the Gene Stealer Call?
I think just the hive mind takes up a lot of like mental space, so I'm gonna say the Votan.
I'm pretty sure you guys eat planets.
Yeah.
with a ship. So I don't think
Do
my
they?
poor boys. Yes, they have a ship
Oh.
that eats planets.
I did not know that. That's
We're very efficient.
Which is setting up for one of the games, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that was in between a couple of games. Playing on stream is great. It you know, people are usually nervous just being mic'd the whole time. You know, I spent 3-hour games mic'd.
Oh, you played all of your games on the stream.
Yes. So Joe,
Wow.
instead of manning the stream all day Friday, he was playing the games. So yes, we were on stream for 9 hours straight.
Wow. That's incredible.
So
Yeah, but you're not nervous, and everyone else is.
yeah, it's fun.
This is your
Um,
Custodes game, I'm assuming.
Yep. So that was a Caladius. You know, we did show our forts, and it tanked the shots, and we survived. We didn't. I believe we only killed one of their tanks. So my army's the teal and the white. Joe's is the orange. We did the same layout all day. So the first 2 games, Joe's fort was in the middle and it would die right away. So the third game, I let him park it in the back so it wouldn't die right away.
Oh. What is the defensive profile on a Hecaton land fortress these days?
T12, 2-up save, 16 wounds.
What? Oh,
Um,
so it's literally just a land raider.
Yep.
It's-
And then we do have armor
Better
of
night.
Okay.
and armor of contempt.
Aye.
Yes, that is not something I would like to have to fight against because I cannot harm it. We're
You have anti-vehicle. You'd be fine.
I know, but it's just yeah, only on the characters though. So eat your 6 attacks, probably turning into like 3, so take 6 damage.
Something new.
Who was manning the stream the whole time?
So the gentleman in the wheelchair there was actually going to be Joe's partner for the 2v2. Something came up and he wasn't able to, so he manned the stream. He changed the camera angles while Joe and I were playing.
Was Joe like also narrating the stream like as he was playing, like he normally would?
We were on this side of the table, so we could look over the table and interact with chat. So we would give game updates as we went, but we were still playing.
Right. Let's
And then these are into my that picture there is in my round 2.
Oh, okay. I must have put that in the wrong spot. All right. Round 1. Saturday. Play. Oh, Ryan, take over.
Oh, he gets to play against Votan. And this is the opposite of what you were playing. You just talked about how you were playing Pioneers at one point. You did try the Hecatons. You felt like they were kind of not pulling their weight. And now you're playing Bizarro World.
Yeah, so I pretty much played this list the day before. I had done the mirror match into 3 forts earlier at the Milwaukee GT back in February, and I won that mirror match as well. So the land forts are a stat check, or you pin them in. So you just keep throwing things in. You keep charging the land fortresses. Sagittars charging into land fortresses. His land forts in this game, it was I believe it was quarters, search and destroy. His land forts never left his deployment zone.
Wow.
I won the infiltrate war because I had infiltrators, he didn't. Or no, he had 1 unit, but I got the roll off. So I pinned him in and I just kept throwing things at him. I knew this matchup, and it's clog up the forts. He was passive, I was aggressive, and that's where Votan want to be. Jasper, who great guy, great opponent. He actually ended up going 4-1, so he lost his first game, and then club seals the rest of the way and got the top Votan player of the event, actually.
Out of curiosity, so you are playing one set of 10 Hearthguard, right?
Hearthguard, yes.
How do you feel about the Hearthguard in general? Because whenever I look at Votan and I see their raw stats, the Hearthguard always strike me as, wow, you throw the lethal hit guy on there and they're shooting with a lot of shots.
They're my favorite unit. 5-mans just don't do it for me. Really, that 10-man with lethal sustained hits 2, 10d6 shots, sustained 2, 3 more shots from the Volkite. I'll take out a Land Raider with just volume with those guys.
And I imagine Overwatch is fantastically.
Yes. Oh, it came up in my orc matchup. I was overwatching, units of knobs, units of beast nagas. The problem with the Hearth Guard is if you don't have board control and you can't start them on the board because they're too slow, you have to deep strike them. But if you don't have board control, you're just deep striking them into your DZ. That's why I have the double Jaegers and all the Sagittars scouting forwards to take the board.
And then they're playing an Iron Master here, which we didn't see in your list. That's the +1 to hit, right?
+1 to hit in this. He didn't have anything that was connected to. That just filled up a Sagittar, or it just got out and was healing the Iron Master or the vehicles.
Is it not generally worth it to put you on 3-ups, sometimes 2-ups?
Yeah, I like the Iron Master if you put him with the Thunderkin.
The other bit was, I didn't ask this when we looked at your list. How important is it for you to score one of the grudges in the first 2 turns for that extra CP?
It's crucial. The the people who I know that are playing Votan is the first thing they say is when you don't have a judgment token, your damage output just drops off. The most important thing of playing Votan is picking the 4 correct units to double judge at the beginning of the game, and you always want to put something on a unit that you're going to kill in the first 2 turns, pretty much guaranteed.
So 3 points and 1 kind of cash grab that it doesn't matter. You're picking like the infiltrator essentially.
Correct.
Okay.
Or something that you know is going to run at you.
We have some pictures of the game.
So see where that land fort, there's 2 of them right in the middle behind each other?
Mm-hmm.
That's as far forward as Jasper got on his game.
Wow.
The other fort on the right there, that's where the fort died.
Can the Berserks take one of these things apart in melee, or are they still too durable?
You're going to be wounding. You're going to be wounding on 4s with the double judge. Without judgment tokens, not a chance, because you'd be hitting on 4s, wounding on 5s and 6s. Double judge, you'd probably want to put some chip damage into it first.
So what were the judgment choices at the start of this one?
This one was his 3 forts, and then his Sagittar. His Sagittar scouted towards me. His Sagittar died in, I think, turn 1 or turn 2.
And then Berserks are 3 damage a pop, right?
They are.
Oof.
That's a nice melee number right there.
It is. And then so one thing that did happen is I shot 5 of my 6 Sagittars into one of his forts, and it bounced the first turn. It took a second turn. The Sagittars are AP3. They don't ignore cover, so really it's AP2. Armor of Contempt is AP1. Saving 3 ups on a land fort. He just made all the saves, so it took 2 turns of shooting to get through a fort. But I was moving up and I was pinning him in.
So what was do you remember roughly what the final score was?
That one,
I think I have it. I have it open, I think. Oh no, it doesn't actually tell me the score.
I'm worried if I close this app on my phone, I'm going to get disconnected.
Yeah, don't worry about it. All right.
Oh, now we get to check on Joe with his Tyrannid matchup. Complaining to me via text.
Oh man, I have a long-standing curse on me of losing to Tyrannids in 5 rounds events to some weird Tyrannid list that I don't know what it does. Which did happen, but not round 1.
I see something of this list that is out of the ordinary here.
So this was Dave. Dave was super awesome. We had a good time. He was playing Synaptic Nexus, which also I must not have. I think I've only played against Tyranids twice maybe since their book came out. I was very unaware of what their command point situation was, which is just infinite as far as I'm concerned.
With the free aura?
It's insane. Yeah. Swarmlord, which has a Vect aura, which was really frustrating. A Hive Tyrant with 2 Hive Tyrants, both of which have a 12-inch aura of -1 CP to a stratagem, which refunds every turn, not every round. So they're effectively getting, and Swarmlord just gives you an extra CP for free in your command phase. So they effectively have 5 CP every round, and then I'm having to pay an extra in the middle of the table. And then Mr. Neuro Tyrant, 5 Barb Gaunts, Ripper Swarm, Biovore, 3x screens, and Mr. Harridan, which I don't think I've ever played against a Harridan. I've seen them. It is absolutely massive. If you see it, can you see it? We're going to play Where's Harridan on the table here.
I think I see it.
Jeez.
Which, if you want something that benefits from the pivot rule, this is your model, because it gains probably a good 8 8 or 10 inches off of its pivot.
I feel like you know you're doing something wrong when you have your exocrines up in front. That
Well, this was like corners, like the triangle corners. But I think he went first. Yes, he did go first. The Harridan came out, shot my kill rig, and did like 32 damage to it. And I'm like, uh-oh, that's a real bad. I don't think I've ever had anything overkill it that hard before. This is gonna be bad. Um, and then the next turn, it shot another kill rig and did 6 damage. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what this thing does anymore. I did snag it with the harpoon.
oh yeah.
The one kill rig, so that got a cool charge in. That was awesome. Man, Gaz and the kill rigs just kind of went to work, and Dave did not have. He had the Harridan left on like 6 wounds and just some trash at the bottom of turn 2. So he was not having a good time after that. So
Even if the Harridan was doing the greatest job known to man, it seems like he just doesn't have a force to hold the board with. Period.
right, yeah, because like I think one of the kill rigs popped off with the word tower, and I think just completely vaporized an exocrine just with that, which is extremely unlikely, but that was very fortunate on my end. So yeah, that game ended like 100-26 or something, but yeah. I got to talk to Dave several other times throughout the tournament. He loves his Harridan, and he wants to keep playing it, but he knows he is gimping himself horribly because it is 610 points.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
He did win his round 3 and tied his round 5. David did with his Harridan.
Yeah. I mean, that thing, I don't know anything that shoots that hard. Like 36 or 28, 32 damage, somewhere in there. It was a lot, and wow. Like,
I mean, I'm looking at it right now. It's just D6 plus 6 blast. Magnus shoots that hard, and you get rerolls.
he also had rerolls. I don't know from what.
Well, the exos give reroll 1s.
That might have been it. Yeah. So, I mean, that thing was putting in work. What's the damage on it? Is it 3 or 4?
Damage 3, AP 3.
Okay. Yeah, it was.
I mean, the AP is the killer.
Right. Right. Yep. This is probably turn 2. Gaz is just controlling the middle of the board. The Harridan had to fly away. He got tagged by some crap. I think one Beast Snag Boy squad, and then he had to run away. And that was that. Okay.
Now you said you didn't care, like you were good going against Death Guard, but you also said that you're a pretty melee-focused version of Votann this time around. And Death Guard want to fight melee armies, don't they?
So a lot of people get scared of the Sagittars when you tell them the shooting profile. And there's so many of them. I'm scouting, and everyone hides and plays passively. So this one, pretty Magnus or not Magnus, Morty did not leave his deployment zone until turn 4.
Wow. First of all, I want to say for a Marine list, there's a lot of shit in this list. Holy crap! This is just like a never-ending army list. How many units is this?
Everything's cheap for Death Guard, man. I mean, the Blight drones and the Blight haulers cost about the same, which is what, like 90 a pop
units in that list. That is insane.
Yeah, this is pretty normal for the non max out on your termies kind of thing.
Let's see. So this one was, the final score was 97-78. His MVP of the game was those 2 spawns. I had to way overcommit just to kill those 2 things. But essentially, I pushed the middle. He went wide. He went off to both sides. I was able to bring bikes on and off the board exactly 24 inches away. Slowly killed off his 2 flanks. And then when I did push the middle, Morty came out, but it was already turn 4, and the game was done. It was just when people don't run at me, I run at them and I pin them in.
How did the party bus feel? I am very familiar with the double Plaguecaster and a Rhino running around shooting you with 2d6 plus 6.
So that went wide and chased after a unit of Jaegers, which it got with a 9, a d6. I moved forwards, so his charge wasn't very long, and yes, I gave up a unit of Jaegers to him, but it just kind of like kept him over there.
Sure.
And then I swung over in and out one of my bikes, and then the Sagittars, full of berserks, was able to take that flank back from him.
What mission was round 2?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a good question. When
I can bring that up here.
does my video shut off, or is it still up?
It is shut off, but we can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay, good.
Round
Game 2.
Mission N.
So the ritual.
Oh. Which
so
probably benefits them if they sit back and don't mess with you, if they can just constantly create their own.
And I think that's why he kept Morty there, as he spawned 2 on his side of the board. I spawned 2 on my side of the board. We were going up in primary equally. But I had the mobility. I had bikes coming in and out. I had Jaegers. I had 50-point units and Sagittars that I could throw, to do objectives.
Now, did he minus save aura, or did he go for the up yours? You're a 4 up naturally.
He did the
I do not like that one.
He did the minus to hit.
Okay, good on him.
Yeah.
Man, I just can't get over how much stuff is in that Death Guard list with Mortarion. That's just insane.
It's and again, he's playing the Plague Burst Crawler, which is a good 60 points higher than the Destructor. So if he just plays a Destructor instead of the Crawler, he gets bare minimum a squad of Nurglings up front.
So what he should have done is he should have those 2 Plague Burst Crawlers that he kept in his DZ with Morty. He should have ran those.
There were
to
2 of them?
board. Oh no, it was 1 and then the Predator. But the Plague Burst Crawler, he should have just ran it to the center of the board.
Was he trying to do the indirect with Morty, even though that kind of doesn't work anymore?
No, it was not.
Wow. What do the Malignant Plaguecasters do?
They're the Flamers.
Well,
D6 plus
they're a
3.
Flamer. Okay.
Yeah, or no, they're it's not a it's they're not they're not Flamer. Oh yeah, they are Flamer. They're Torrent. So D6 plus 3, and then they do D3 damage, and you throw 2 of them in a Rhino and firing damage.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that is a lot of stuff.
It is a lot of stuff. But I still could I could out activate. I had more objective flame than he did.
What was it about their spawn that forced you to overcompensate? Because they don't have World Eater. Feel no pain.
So the picture on they do regen their wounds at the end of their turn, though.
And your turn.
Yeah.
It's both. Yeah.
So, and the picture on the right there, down that yellow Sagittar with that spawn, it just tied that up like the entire game. And I even put a unit of Berserks into it. Still didn't kill it because I didn't have Judgment tokens. So I'm hitting on 4s.
Hitting on 5s, right?
Oh yeah, hitting on 5s.
Got
him.
Imagine if you had Nurglings in this list. Then you'd be hitting on 6s, losing your mind.
Yeah. No, the spawns are great.
Do you have like a dedicated Overwatch unit?
The Hearthguard, right?
The Hearthguard.
Oh, okay. And you give them what do they get? Sustain 2?
So sustain 2. So if you have 1 judgment token, it goes from sustained 1 to sustains 2. But that is in the shooting phase, so it doesn't work on
Oh,
Overwatch.
okay. Gotcha.
But this game ended 97-78.
Okay. That's a pretty decided victory.
No kidding. Oh.
All right. My man, Logan. Playing the Berserker Warband World Eaters. He has Angron, Ord Invocatus, a Juggernaut, 2 units of Jackals, 2 units of Spawn, who, yes, are extremely frustrating to deal with, 25 Terminators, and a Predator Destructor. This was very difficult for Logan being Ritual because he did not have a lot of units to go around and start doing actions to spawn objectives and then doing secondaries. So
Jackal's sticky, right?
yes, and they have a stratagem that if you shoot them to death on an objective, they will sticky that as well. However, you have to make the objectives first to turn them sticky. And I just want to say, I've never played a World Eaters game where Angron hasn't been on the board 5 out of 5 battle rounds. As soon as I kill him, he immediately comes back in every World Eaters game I've ever played.
Yahtzee.
Yeah. So he's just a constant factor. And it like my brain just doesn't compute that if I kill him and then he can immediately come back to life and then rapid ingress on my turn. Like, yeah, that's really frustrating. But the Terminators, yeah, they actually are pretty fast, especially when they get their advance and charge and their +2 to movement off. But you can see in the middle of the board here, well, you can see that I was making lots of objectives, and actually, I think the game ended with 2 additional on top of this. But the Terminators really didn't get to go a whole lot of places because you'll see like the 5 little Storm Boys there just north of the center objective, just move blocking them round after round after round. And the flash gets are super important because when my whole army is AP1 in the melee phase, just having them in a separate phase means that they have to either double down on their armor contempt because I'll just shoot them, so they have to use it a second time, and then they won't have enough to counterattack or do something else in the fight phase. So those flash kits were just going to work. I think the one round they picked up like 3 or 4 Terminators out of the squad, which was really awesome because he didn't have the CP to interrupt if he was going to armor contempt twice. So, yeah.
What was the final point?
That is also a good question.
Close or not so?
It was not terribly close.
If this was not an objective-based sort of primary, and you guys were more struggling in no man's,
this was 92 to 53.
Termies are not something you want to go against as orcs, though, right?
No, they're not. But like I said, I can just kind of move block them. The War Towers are great here because they can pick up 1 or 2 in the shooting phase as well. And then, yeah, I just have so much trash, I can just move block them. Logan did get, and we talked about it later, he got real scared on my WAAAAAAAGH turn. And I think this was a bit of a crucial error on his part. On my WAAAAAAAGH turn, he moved all of his Terminators backwards and basically just ceded the whole middle of the board to me. So, and then I moved backwards a little bit, and then he couldn't charge me. So, and then Angron died and immediately ended up in my backfield. But he didn't have a whole lot to do other than murder some Gretchen. So. Yeah. So that's how that went. Round 3. This was
Connor.
Mission M. I don't know what that is.
I guess I could pull it up.
Yeah. So Connor, he's from Frozen North. Super fun opponent. He did end up winning. He was 98 to my 76. it was anybody's game. The thing that so I did play orcs twice this event. My 5th round was Gaz and a traditional orc list in trucks
I'm sorry, are
and
you referring to Gazkul Mag or Thrakus or Prophet of the Og?
yes.
Okay, all right, just making sure.
So Connor didn't have him. Connor just had way too much stuff. So I would shoot a unit, I would charge another unit, I'd kill it. I was overwatching units. Um, I was just killing his units right and left. But he just had more of them coming at me. Um, the 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 thing that actually we talked after the game, actually the next day, the thing that won him the game was the 20 Gretchen and that name guy Zodgrod.
Yeah.
Radgrad Wurtzsaga.
So it
That's
was
who my Big Mac with the Shack attack gun turned into.
okay.
He was him. I cut him.
So that single-handedly won him the game. He did a late, like turn 3 WOG turn, and he advanced. He got a 6, and that 20-man unit that was hiding behind a wall went in and charged 3 of my Sagittars.
Just kept him stuck.
Ow.
Just clogged up my whole army. I was sending berserks into it. And that was the unit I wanted to shoot with my Hearthguard. And I was set up in a position to do that. But just the amount of advance that he got, he started behind a wall, he ended where he couldn't see me, or where I couldn't see him. But really it was a 20 Gretchen in the middle of my army. Now knowing how hard it was to remove them, or just how much time it took, I should have just spread out a little bit more, and I should have focused on that unit a lot more.
That's what Mark Perry did to me turn 1, Joe, with what was that, Rocky?
Mm-hmm.
Zodgrod triple charging.
We do have a chaos shout out from Akron,
Country Chaos.
which is
Country Cast. Yep, that's our team.
This was Purge the Foe, by the way.
So and that was another thing. I was we were keeping it even where we were both scoring, kill 1, we were trading off, killing more. But he just I ran out of stuff, he didn't. But it was that triple charge that just really slowed me down.
Sure. Zodgrad notably adds 6 inches onto his movement in the WOG turn, so that little Gretchen squad can boogie because they're
flying.
Yeah,
they scout as well, right?
They do. But literally every game I play with them, and they're also -1 to wound to be wounded, which still their toughness 2, so you're almost certainly wounding them on 3s. Yeah. The whole squad just dies to anything. Like that's why I cut them out of my list.
Except 3 Sagittars hitting in combat with 3 attacks piece.
That's true. I'm just in melee.
Another thing that I should have, could have, would have done is my Jaegers, instead of trying to move block his trucks, which they did, I should have just been infiltrated 9 inches away and just charged that Gretchen unit as soon as possible.
Wow.
But I didn't do that, and then I lost the game because of it.
What was he putting in his battle wagon?
That had the that had 2 units of Beast Snagas.
Oh wow! Okay.
Oh, the Ard case makes it a T12. Wow.
Yeah, and it's innately Armor of Contempt. That's just on its data sheet. Just subtract 1 AP.
That's a tough cookie.
His vehicles, I'm not afraid of orc vehicles just because my 6 Sagittars have AP 3, D6 damage, strength 12, hitting on 3s, wounding on, the trucks on 2s, the battle wagon on 4s, 3s. I did blow up some vehicles, and he rolled. He rolled 5 1s, and he lost a whole unit of Burnaboys.
Oh.
So he had 5 knobs.
The battle wagon exploding?
No, it was one of his trucks had a unit of 5 knobs and 5 Burnaboys. He rolled 5 1s, so he had to pick, and he picked a whole unit of Burnaboys to just go away.
Wow. I
Yeah.
mean, burn boys are dirt cheap. They're like 50 or 60 bucks.
And that's why he chose it. But I was actually glad. I didn't want my Berserks getting overwatched because they have a 6-up save.
Ah, man.
So
He didn't careen his exploding truck?
I don't think there was anything nearby.
Oh,
I shot it from pretty far away from a
okay.
Sagittar.
Wow. Yeah, this is a cool list. Like, just got lots of stuff. This is definitely a list I would probably be playing similar to if kill rigs just weren't so damn cheap. Connor also stealing best Xenos from me in the
He
tournament.
did. He did. Connor had a 68% win rate, and you had a 66.6 opponent win rate. So
Despite having, I
just
think, the
edged.
second most battle points in the whole tournament. Ah, very frustrating.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
opponent win rate for you.
Yeah, there's some works here. Getting
So on the picture on the left, it's 3 Sagittars. So there's one kind of in the shadows, the white one, the green one, and then a unit of Berserks. He tied up so that double ruin is where the 20 Grecian were, and he tied up all 3 of those Sagittars, but not my Berserks. After the fact, I think he. I don't think unit coherency. I don't actually think he could have charged that one in the shadows, because you do have to base every. If you can base to base, you have to base to base. And there were some Gretchen strung out between the 3 Sagittars.
But you still have to maintain unit coherency first and foremost, though, correct? Doesn't that supersede the if you base, you must base?
So we had to, it was turn 3. We had to it was the point in the tournament where we're like, oh, there's not a lot of time left. We had to go faster. If we would have, measured, moved the ones in back first to the spot where, they weren't touching something, we were going back and forth if that was a possible charge. Obviously, after the models were moved and after the event, we were trying to maybe I couldn't have charged that 3rd Sagittar.
Gotcha.
So, but it was just one of those. I didn't realize it was going to impact the game as much as it did. We probably could have, before he made the charge move, we should have called a judge and said, "Hey, is this even possible?"
Gotcha. Yeah, man, I just have not had good success with that Zodgrad unit. They just die to bolters real hard. But man, okay. Is this the Gretchen screen and on the right hand side here?
On the right, no, that's my Jaegers. So
Oh, okay.
that's what I did to. Um, that's what I did to block off his trucks. It worked really well. But what I should have done is I should have charged those Jaegers into his 20-man Gretchen squad. I prioritized move blocking above the Gretchen.
Yeah. Okay. Grey Knights. I just had a conversation with you in between these 2 rounds of what I don't like to play. And then I get paired into Grey Knights. This is not going to go well. This is Miles Engrave, I'm assuming. Engrave?
Mm-hmm. Also from Frozen North, so a teammate of Connor's.
Okay. He's got Mr. Kaldor Drago, Grandmaster Dread Knight with Sigil of Exigence, which this whole time I thought it was Sigil of Excellence, so shame on me. 2 Librarians, 3 units of 5 Brotherhood Terminators, Strike Squad, 3 Dread Knights, and 5 Acolytes. I will say, of all the Imperium players I played, they had Acolytes, and my stupid little lava cannons on the kill rigs were good at picking these squads up. So that's pretty much all they did.
Are the lava cannons still hitting on 5s?
No, they are hitting on 6s, sir, because they are still indirect. Sometimes you just roll 6 shots though and get lucky. And when there's 3 of them, I would maybe kill one or two guys a turn. So over the course of the game, these 5 Inquisitor acolytes died, or henchmen or whatever they're called. This was, what mission was this? Oh, this was Purge. Okay. This game was a big mess right from the get-go because he's everywhere. So I spent this game was very unique because there was never like a go turn for either of us. Like he went first and didn't do much. I went on my first turn. I just kind of pushed up a little bit and didn't really do anything. And then we skirmished a little bit on turn 2. Turn 3, a couple things came out, and I was just kind of pulling ahead on primary. And then he got gummed down on the end of 3, I think, and just could not escape me at that point because there was too much crap touching
When
his
did you
army.
WAAAAAAAGH?
I think I logged on turn 3. The important thing here was because Mr. Demos is just very frustrating to play against. So I would try to bait it out, and I would put something out, but make it close enough to 2 of his units. So if he did miss, then I could still charge something. So I was still getting some value out of that unit. Otherwise, it just stands there and does nothing. But Drago, wow. Drago did not do a lot this game. He got mired in combat with just 10 Beast Nagaboys and killed 0 of them over the course of 3 combat phases. He was very upset about that. So, understandably so. Yeah, Drago just whiffed one after another. He eventually just started running out of units, and I have a lot of trash. So, I was scoring primary, doing secondaries. Big Mac with the shock attack gun didn't do a whole lot. I specifically have that thing in the army to help me deal with like elite infantry because it's AP 4.
Yeah, but they're all invulns.
I know, but he did show up on game 5.
This was the final of the
This
day.
was the
right?
final of
Yep.
day 1. So Purge. Yeah, let's see.
So,
I did end up winning 93 to 73.
Yeah, and that was Miles' only loss for the entire event.
Yeah, he was a very skilled opponent. I don't think he really made any mistakes. We just kind of got into a staring contest, and at a certain point, like I'm just gonna have more stuff if we're not really killing each other. So, and then I'll just overwhelm the board, which is kind of what happened. And
So
Drago just whiffing was so bad on this bottom right objective. He just got stuck down there. He was on the point. He couldn't fall back. I was controlling the point because I had a billion OC on it, and I think the Flash gets killed a Dread Knight in Overwatch, which was also really frustrating.
see, and I'm surprised because round 3 was Purge. So I was, I'm thinking you're holding and holding more. He's killing and killing more to keep
Yes.
him like the primary close.
Yeah, I don't think either one of us got a kill on turn 1. I don't think he got a kill on turn 2, and I did get a kill. And then turn 4 and 5, I was holding more and killing more. So I just, I just ran away at that point. I was somebody, I think Gaz was doing epic challenges and killing the characters out of the units, so that was also helping put me up because obviously the character counts as a kill. So yeah. Grey Knights also just very frustrating to play against because they're everywhere. All my Gretchen are just in the back here, just screening the board out. Even so, 3-inch deep strikes aren't happening. Yeah, it was a good game. It was a very sweaty game. So I went back to my room and took a shower because I was very stinky.
Knowing how BCP and pairings and all the options work, I did talk to the TOs before the event and during the event. So the day one, they did win-loss random. So you didn't know who you were going to play against.
Oh, they messed it up.
On day two, they switched to win-loss opponent win rate. And so you could actually figure out who you were going to play the night before. If you knew that little detail of, oh, they're switching to opponent win rate. That was also the placing rankings. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down the line.
These were hidden though, weren't they? You couldn't see that up until day 2.
No, they unlocked it after round 3.
Yeah, it was unlocked by the time you texted me, Joe.
Okay.
It had just unlocked.
Yeah. So if you knew those details, you were able to figure out who your round 4 opponent was. Granted, someone could drop. There could be some, this person had already played someone, so it could have messed it up. But I was able to figure out the night before that I was going to be playing the worst list on the worst mission. And it was the ones where they disappear, supply drop.
Ugh.
And once I rolled to go first, so I already knew this list with the Lion, Deathwing Knights. So I'm in my hotel room rolling Sagittars and all these shots into Deathwing Knights to figure out how much I had to put into them. I was killing them, but I killed 2 units of Deathwing Knights, and I killed the Inner Circles. I killed the Eradicators. I killed one of the units of Infiltrators.
In one turn?
No, over the course of the game.
Okay.
So any other mission, I'd be like, sure, I'll take this guy. Because I can eventually kill his stuff and I have more activations. But the fact that as soon as I rolled to go first, he was going second on supply drop. That's 15 at the end of the game for him. And it was a close game. But it just going second supply drop versus this army, I wasn't winning this one. Just based on who was going first. Unfortunately.
This is unusual though for Dark Angels to be Stormlance though, correct?
So he his whole army has advanced in charge. So he's running at me.
Hey, okay. Deathwing Knights actually can move now. They normally play Gladius, I think.
Yes.
How did Lion fare?
I just knew to ignore him.
I was gonna say.
Wow.
I would just out OC him. I was throwing my 5-man units, and I would just out OC him. And Lion would be standing next to like 2 of my, like a Sagittar and a 5-man on an objective that I had stolen from him. And he would just like walk the other way.
Jeez.
His whole army would just move towards, we knew where the final objective was, and his whole army had deployed, evenly in the middle, and it just all morphed to the one side, and I just,
wow,
I couldn't.
What is the Gravis captain doing? Hanging out with the Eradicators, I'm assuming.
Yep, that was with the so it buffed the Eradicators. And then the relic, I think it was fallback, shoot, and charge.
Okay.
But as soon as they popped out, I had a judgment token on them, and I picked them up as soon as they showed themselves.
Did he have a unit that could come in turn 1 from reserves?
That is that's an enhancement.
Oh, that's an enhancement. Okay.
Yeah.
And no, he did not do that.
Okay. That's just a wolf thing, apparently.
So yeah, it was. I knew the night before it was going to be who went first. I did, therefore he went second and could hold the final primary. So it was 100 to.
Holy shit! 100? Wow.
100 to 55. I had no primary.
Wow.
Oof.
Holy crap. Okay. Yeah.
More Tyranids.
Greg Parker's Assimilation Swarm Tyranids. As I said, I have a curse where I play some weird Tyranids list where I don't know what it does, and then a bunch of crazy shit happens, and I lose. Although, admittedly, this was a very close game until I made a horrible, horrible mistake. So, and we both agreed that probably cost me the game. Anyway, Craig has Swarmlord, which I already said what he does with the Hive Tyrant. Neuro Tyrant, 10 Hormigons, 2 units of 6 Tyrant Guard. These things are toughness 8, and they get a Feel No Pain from the Psychophage. Oh, if you don't know what Assimilation Swarm does, this is a Necron Awakened Dynasty detachment. So everything regenerates each turn, and the infantry squads, like the Pyrovores, for instance, just get a whole Pyrovore back, which obviously can increase their movement by bringing guys in front.
How did the I imagine with the 3 psychophages, he had pretty much army-wide feel no pain
Yes.
6 up.
Yes,
How
he did.
How did that feel?
Not good. Swarmlord and the Hive Tyrant go in the Tyrant Guard squads. They are notably infantry. Obviously, the 2 Tyrants are monsters, so it makes some very awkward movement for them because the guard go through the walls, but then the character has to walk around it because he's a monster. But the Hive Tyrant also has fights first, free heroic intervention, and then he has his CP aura. So, I mean, I was just completely crippled all game by having to pay 3 CP to fight on death, and then he had effectively 5 CP every turn. So it was very painful. Gaz was an absolute hero. Swarmlord charged, I think, on turn 2, just to kill. I think I just had some trash on the center objective. Did I take a picture? Yes. You can see how everything was bunched up here. All the Tyrant Guard in the middle. Gaz is on the other side of the ruin. Yeah, these Storm Boys kind of riding these 2 objectives. Swarmlord came in there, killed the Storm Boys. I heroic intervention to Gaz over the wall here because these cargo containers were ruled as breachable. You just can't end your move on top of them unless your base fits. So Gaz made it through, and he himself killed all of the Tyrant Guard because being flat damage 4 really messes with their feel no pains.
Were they being led at all?
Yeah, by Swarmlord.
Oh, so they get feel no pain no matter what. They had the 5 up instead of a 6 up. Ooh.
Yes, they did. And Gaz still just went to work, and Greg was like, "Oh God, damage 4!" Like, and that was cool killing Stormlord because that really hampered some of his CP. But I was still just.
So what was the big mistake that lost you the game? Because the game it was a 10-point game. Looking at your guys' scores.
Yeah. So
Wrong side of the objectives.
So yeah, my kill rig on the bottom here, it ended up like charging through that that barricade into that exocrine, and I had another unit of Storm Boys. He's got his Hormigons next to that exocrine behind that wall. Basically, we traded places here. I went to kill the exocrine. I think there's a Pyrovore back there too, and then the Hormigons ran over onto this objective, and so on turn the bottom of 3, I was like, oh, I gotta kill this. I gotta kill these Hormigons or he's gonna take this objective from me. So my second unit of Storm Boys charged them, and then it was just Gaz and a Psychophage on the middle objective, and Gaz was on 2 wounds left. The rest of his squad was dead. And I was really afraid to even move him because I didn't want him to get overwatched by one of these insane damage 2 flamers that are just everywhere in this army. This whole army is flamers. Everything has a flamer in this army except for the Terrain effects. He had the like D6 plus 6 damage
The rupture
gun.
cannon, yeah.
Yes. And that thing is basically a Land Raider stat wise. Like, don't unless you're fully committed to destroying it, like don't bother because it's super durable. And I think he overwatched somewhere else. And then me, I was like, oh, I gotta kill the Psychophage. I charged Gaz into it, and then not realizing that bottom objective was going to disappear next turn. I fought first with those Storm Boys for some horrible reason, and then he interrupted with the Psychophage, and it got one dev wound through on Gaz, which killed him. So,
Oof.
I hate that mission.
That mission is terrible. Go away. Get out of here.
I don't know anyone who enjoys it.
And sure, if it's on round 1 or 2, but like round 4 of a GT,
I would
No
rather
good.
play hockey with objectives.
I think I would too.
Craig was a fantastic opponent. We had a great game. Also, incredibly sweaty game. Yeah, he ended up winning best overall of the tournament as well, coming in 3rd place, undefeated.
Undefeated,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, so congrats to him. Well earned. His army was awesome. I really liked his bases. His bases were like better. They were just like a better way than how I do mine. So
I was gonna say they look very similar from afar.
yeah, his have way more like kind of unique texture to them, and he's got little like logs and stuff in them. So I might try to steal some of his basing ideas in the future. So I did compliment him on those. Michael Wrench says disappearing objectives are painful. Yes, they are, sir. As we said, go away, mission.
Shout out to my boy Wrench. He's part of our team. He was just at my house a couple days ago, playing Warhammer. He picked up Drukari. He's newer to the game, and he's just grinding hard. He's a great guy.
Oh, he is a braver man than myself because I was playing Drukari, and I am no longer.
His
a lot of bad matchups.
Yeah, his first GT will be this January down in Stoughton at Guild Wars 1. It's a 60 person GT in Madison in January. It's like an LVO prep GT.
Oh, okay. Where is Madison in relation to Wausau? To the south?
It's 2 hours south of us.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That'd be like an 8-hour drive for me.
Oof. Probably too far.
Yeah. I drove 8 hours to Minneapolis. But...
Yeah. Yes.
yeah.
So in the final round, you guys, Sam, you were 2-2, Joe 3-1, and Sam got to go against some more warhordes.
Oh, baby.
Yes, but this was so Josh, he was there to have a good time, and I was there to begrudging versus losing to Orcs the 2 rounds previous. The game was decided. So this game, and this is the reason why I have 2 Jaeger units in my list, is for a matchup like this. You know, there's a bunch of trucks, there's battle wagons. I infiltrated very aggressively with both units of Jaegers. I went first. I moved him up, and I just stood in front of him. And then he would move closer to me. I would reactive move either further away or to pin a different lane. He moved up a truck, got out. They were either boys or beast nagas or an infantry unit. Got out of the truck. I reactive moved right in front of them. Sure, those Jaegers died, but I had kept them back far enough that I could then rapid ingress the next turn my Hearthguard, and my Hearthguard with their so his Gaz, that little guy that follows him around with the 2
Makari, sir.
The 2-up involved.
So, and then he was with the unit of Mega Knobs. So what I did was I shot enough Sagittars until I got rid of the Mega Knobs. And then my unit of Hearthguard, I did the sustained hits too. So I'm 10d6 blast, sustain 2 lethal, and then 30 shots of Volkite dev wounds. And that unit just shot. So he had to roll his stupid 2-up. He eventually failed because he had like 30 saves.
Wow.
And then all the Volkite just chewed right through Gas. And that,
in theory, though, you do the Volkite first to get through the invulns, right?
Well, the dev wounds happen at the end of the attack.
Yes,
Yeah. So I just did the math volley first of all the D6 blast, and it just that unit was gone. The unit, the game was, I don't want to say decided then, but it pretty much was his big punch. He had to chew through a unit of Jaegers. So his whole army's running at me, blocked by a unit of Jaegers that keeps moving closer to him. And then my rapid ingress, I had enough CP because I killed a unit soon enough that I, hit the 3 CP extra. Now my rapid ingress 10 Hearthguard are now overwatching units, and whole units are just going away.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Jaegers are T5 like everything else, right? So
They
they're
are.
surprisingly durable for a 90-point unit.
Yeah. And so the way to take them is you take all the pistols and the knives. So the plasma knives are AP2, 2 attacks apiece. So a unit of 10, 20 attacks with that AP2, you're going through any screen in the game.
Right. I mean, my Gene Stealers don't even compare, and they're 90. What are they these days? They're close in pointage.
So this was a once there's an opponent who's there to have a good time. I definitely I not backed off, but it was like, all right, let's what are things that can bring some enjoyment to both to both players. The score was 94-70s, but him losing Gaz and essentially Gaz did nothing. That was the game.
Very
Sure.
painful. What was going in these battle wagons?
He had the battle wagons, had the beast snagas, and then he had a unit of knobs. So he had like a unit trailing behind the truck, so when one would get out, another one would get in.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good move. Notable War Boss has the super cyborg body, giving him that nice 4-up feel paint.
So yeah, it was. I took everything I learned from my 2 rounds previous to doing orcs, where he had more stuff, and then in this matchup, I had more stuff. I had more activations. I was killing him faster than he was killing me.
Oh, what was the final mission, by the way?
Oh, it was mission
This wasn't
A.
Purge as well, right? Oh, so
No.
Take and Hold. It was just the classic.
Yeah, the classic.
Do you just have those mission letters memorized?
I have A memorized.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A is the one I do most often.
Yeah. A is the one that I probably play too much of, is my problem.
Right.
Ah. Wow. Poor Gaz. He is just such a unit. Man. Love him to death. Some picks of the game. Oh, this is a big jumble mess in the corner.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that is that is when my Jaegers blocked off his unit. So on that top objective there, you see a couple of my Sagittars, and then above it is the 10-man that rapid ingressed in. There was a unit of Jaegers. Well, there's a few of them left, but that's what's blocking Gaz. So Gaz had to charge that.
Why are the Jaegers so good at blocking? Do they just move really fast?
Well, so they have infiltrate, and then they have a reactive move D6.
Oh, okay. Reactive.
So
they're only 90 points, Joe.
I did know that. I did know that. Yes.
The reactive move just is so good.
Yeah.
So if you're going against
D6, right?
What was that?
It's D6. It's not a flat amount.
It is D6. So what you can do is you can infiltrate them like right in front of a wall, and usually you have enough movement to get behind the wall. But I prefer them actually to push, to just move right in front of you.
Oh, man. Yeah, that'll do it.
Sam, is there ever a point that you use the Pioneers instead of keeping them in the back as a secondary kind of wall behind the Jaegers?
I've done that, and every time I do, I regret that. I
Oh.
I have to remind myself constantly, keep my bikes until turn 3. Because each bike has 3 shots apiece. Hitting on 4s usually down to hitting on 3s, strength 7, AP 1 for 2 damage. Then they have 6 more shots of their like guy riding behind. So like late game, you can chew through those like bits and pieces of units that are left over.
Sure.
You absolutely want to keep them, unless you have a 6-man. If you have a 6-man, you usually can control a flank. But no, I would keep them as late game tech pieces.
Well, congrats, man, on the winning record on this. Having to play orcs twice.
Yeah, it was a great event. This was my second time going to Renegade. Their terrain has been revamped, so they have the the GW templates. So yeah, it's a good event. I had no bad opponents. I do wish my round 4 wasn't supply drop versus the Lion.
I think everyone there wished that it wasn't supply drop. Joe moaned about it as well. Same day.
I mean, that was just me being dumb though, and not like, oh, this is going to disappear next turn, and just completely forgetting about that. So, yeah.
I believe we have a special shocktacular match.
Oh man! Oh, shout out from Cooler Auto Detailing. Cooler Auto Detailing. Hello.
What an advert!
Wow. You went against Steven?
Yes, who I have played before.
Okay.
He was playing. This is Stephen Crawford. He is from Minnesota somewhere. He was playing Righteous Crusaders, Black Templars, and he showed up to the table with a literal pile of marine bodies. These were not set on his tray in any particular manner. They were literally just piled into
they
a
didn't have to
pyramid.
be.
No.
Jeez.
Obviously, like I knew this list was a thing. I was like, oh boy, this is going to be bad. He's explaining to me that they all have feel no pains, and he's got like a blood surge sort of move. He obviously has armor of contempt, and yeah. So 60 Crusaders and 3 20-man bricks, 2 smaller 10-man squads, 3 squads of scouts, Helbrecht, Grimaldus, and then one of the units had a Castellan and a chaplain leading it. And then he had the combi lieutenant guy in the backfield with Lonop. And 5 inquisitorial agents. So this is a mountain of 2 wound bodies with feel no pains. Very frustrating. This game was just an absolute bloodbath. Again, taking hold. I think this was the tipping point.
This is tipping point. A is
Yeah.
tipping point.
Okay. He admittedly told me I have a real hard time. I will have a real hard time killing these kill rigs. I'm like, okay, very good. So most of the time I'll, jump the squads out. I just pushed these kill rigs onto these units just to kind of tie them up, keep them busy. And okay. So if you see the building next to my tape measure, I have all the flash kits sitting up there, and they just sat there
In second
on the second floor.
Okay.
So they can see. So these flash kits just sat there all game, just unloading. I don't even know how many Marines these flash kits killed, but they were shooting, picking up probably 6 or 7, and then they would overwatch and do almost about the same because he couldn't armor contempt that one at least. They were just doing insane damage. On my WAAAAAAAGH turn, okay, this is the play. Do you see the super tall building in the upper right-hand corner or upper left-hand corner?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you see on the top floor what is strategically positioned up there. A single model.
The shock.
The shock attack gun. Getting that plunging fire for AP5.
Oh my god.
On the WAAAAAAAGH turn. Okay, so the shock attack gun is staring at Hellbrick squad right across this like open field in front of it. And on the WAAAAAAAGH turn, everything jumped out of the kill rigs. I got all my charges off. Everything was in combat. He heroicked Grimaldus' squad to get in there as well, kind of in the middle. I kind of move blocked his L on the center objective with some Gretchen, I think, so he couldn't come across it. But so I'm getting all my charges off. All right, I'm doing my shooting. I'm like, oh, shock attack gun. It's got blast. He's in the building. He's hitting on 4s. Hell yeah, he's gonna shoot Hellbrick squad, and he does. And he kills like, I don't know, 3 or 4 guys. But the shock attack gun. Oh, and he took the vow that gives him feel no pain and +1 leadership. Okay, I'm like, oh, leadership 5. Okay, I'm not gonna do anything. The shock attack gun forces a battle shock test when you get hit by it. I didn't even see him make this roll, so kudos to him for being honest. He rolled the battle shock test on Hellbrick squad and they failed. I'm like, oh, so he can't do any stratagems. He's like, yeah, unfortunately. So no counterattack, no armor condemned. Nope. So Hellbrick squad got flattened in the fight phase.
Oof.
I think I killed 16 out of the squad, although the remaining dudes completely destroyed everything they were still in combat with. So the like 4 or 5 guys left in the unit still did massive amounts of.
They have what, chainswords?
They got chainswords, they got power fists, they got all sorts of stuff.
How were you guys for time for this round?
We were good on time. I mean, like when there were like stupid little combats, like Crusaders into Storm Boys, like I'm not even gonna roll that. I'm just picking them up. Like,
sure.
There's no. He would get like 40 attacks with the chain swords alone with rerolls. I'm like, these guys are gone. So yeah, bloodbath.
Because if I came up to a table and if it was that many Black Templars, I would put them on a clock.
You can see the clock right there.
Yeah, he has an hour and 8 minutes left. I have an hour and 18 minutes. I think this is turn 2.
It has to be round 2.
Yeah. The next turn, but I mean, we were in combat on turn 1, like, because he had pushed his scouts up, and then 2 of the scout squads got knocked down to 1 guy each. Then they jumped off the board, and then they just scored him 1 billion secondary points the rest of the game. Just these 2 solo scout squads, but yeah, wow, what a bloodbath. He did kind of end up getting, by the end of the game, he had like, I think like 3 models left. It was absolutely slaughterfest. But yeah, 2 of the kill rigs were still bombing around, and he did have a hard time killing those.
Yeah, he had a 55 and you had a 83.
Whew. A well-deserved and shocking victory.
Yes, shock attack gun made a super cool play, and now he's out of the list.
I gotta ask though, after all of this, are there going to be any changes outside of Shockboy? I'll start with Sam then, because I know Joe's answer. Is the list changing in any way? Obviously, we have the data slate that could happen any day now, but imagining that doesn't happen and you don't get the coolest detachment ever in December, what would you change?
So for Votann, the forts are really popular right now. There is triple forts. Was it double? No, double fort was at top 16 at the WCW. And I actually played that list with the, but I think forts are going to go up, and I think Jaegers are going to go up.
They better.
Yeah. So I'm not. Sagittars have already been hit, and so they've kind of fallen off being popular. I'm going to play around with doing possibly 1 fort. and like 4 Sagittars. But the double Jaegers, even if they go up 100 points, I'm keeping them. If they go to 120, then I'll probably have to drop to 1 unit. The 10 unit of Hearthguard is just my favorite unit. I'm not cutting it for anything.
Sure. I again, every time I look at the Hearthguard, I am amazed with how much shooting they get, and especially when they have the lethal hits, I'm just like, I don't want to play against that. It scares me.
And I've tried the 18 bike list. I've tried 6-3-3 on the bikes. I went 5 rounds, and I felt like I had enough bikes with 2 units of 3.
Wow.
Joe, what about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the list. I think the kill rigs are super necessary for orcs just because they do give you some reliable high AP shooting, which is just something that they really need because you have to threaten multiple phases like with orcs because otherwise you're gonna run into these low armor or these high armor save armies that you're just gonna bounce off of sometimes. So you have to threaten multiple phases to make them spend their CP. So they can't interrupt or AOC twice. So I think Mr. Shack Attack Gun's going out, and I'm just putting a weird boy in, and he will babysit a unit of 10 boys to jump around the table to sticky objectives and do secondaries.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's it. Sam, you got any events coming up? I think you said you got the one in January.
Yeah, so December is Wausau. We alternate. The only free weekend we have was the 21st. So we have just a fun before Christmas 2v2 event in December, and then we have the 60-person GT down in Madison, Wisconsin, at Guild Pack Games. But that will be the end of my ITC season. But then we start again. February, I'll be hosting an RTT. And then the Milwaukee GT, I believe, is going to be in February. And then Adepticon is in March. So I have a busy start of the year.
Are you doing singles and team event at Adepticon?
I'm going to do the singles, the 4-round champs. And then I'm going to try to get into the long war doubles. And then I'm also going to try to get into the 40K friendly where there's 3 teams. Because I've heard that as a wild time where it's themed and outfits and drinking.
Very good.
You had me at outfits.
As someone who has played the 4-round singles event at Adepticon, it is very draining.
Ugh, 4 rounds.
Getting done at like 10 p.m. and then it's like, oh, I gotta go to bed now. I can't even go out to eat.
Did you say Milwaukee GT was February?
So that's Tim Schmidt. He's a TO friend of mine who's running that. I just messaged him the other day. He's hopefully solidifying the Milwaukee GT shortly.
That's only like 5.5 hours away from me, Joe.
Hey, that's
it ain't bad.
5 hours for me too. So.
And Adepticon is in Milwaukee this year. So
yes,
wow.
Yeah. What happened? What happened there?
What was that?
What happened? No more Schaumburg?
No. So the parking is an issue, and they were outgrowing the hotel.
Wow. That hotel was super nice, though, I will say.
It was, but the new location has like a 5-story parking garage.
Ah, yes.
So no parking like a mile away and getting tickets and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, it's a good show. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Ryan, for guest hosting. You were fantastic.
Hey, anytime I'm not sick, I'm game.
All right.
Sam, pleasure meeting you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a good time. I enjoyed it. My team definitely came into the chat this evening.
And we got a great cooler auto detail.
That is not he's not part of my team.
I don't think you would want him on your team, honestly. Country Chaos, notably the team wearing denim overalls, if you see them at a tournament.
Yes, that is
really
true.
Yes.
And they're shorts. They're like
yes,
short pants, denim overalls.
All right.
Okay, well, I think that'll be it. Thank you everyone for joining in, and have a good evening. See you next week or the week after that. Not sure.